We are back. Roma, they draw the first leg of their Europa League playoff, 1-1 against Porto. Before detailing the match, reactions, all of the things related to the first of two legs, become one of our patrons who are thrilled right now, despite the goal midway through the second half. And despite Brian Cristante putting on a clinic of a performance that reached its pinnacle by being sent off in the second half, you can go to patreon.com/RomaPress, get early access to episodes, other things as well, including post-match reaction podcasts, patreon.com/RomaPress, and then at ISRomaPress, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all social media for all of our stories and to interact with us. And we thank all of you for the support. It greatly, greatly, greatly helps us. And again, we can't thank you all enough. Oof. Well, that was entertaining. Roma were the better of the two sides, Andy. They should have come away tonight with more than a draw. But return leg coming to the Olimpico in 1 week from today. And I think there are a lot of things that they can build off of from this performance. I thought it was very, very, very solid. And by the way, that is not even to mention that, again, Cristante sent off. He was abysmal today, in my opinion. You had how many injuries? How many injuries and how many? I think if you combine the number of yellow cards with the number of injuries, is it 11?
It was insane, and of course it had to happen. Of course, Paulo Dybala at some point, the magic spell. It's like that.
It was coming to an end.
It was coming, and salad makers will skip the return leg. Brian Cristante, for what it's worth, will skip the return leg and one more match. Mats Hummels, as Ranieri says, not fit enough to start. So
Oof.
we are. But it's unavoidable. Again, it happens. This is the moment when great teams are made. And I actually did think and was impressed by what Roma were doing for those 65 minutes before Brian Cristante decides to do whatever he decides to do, in the sense that Roma were in control. Roma were in it. And Cristante's exit just forced them into a position that you never want to find yourself in when you go into that stadium. It feels like, when he was sent off and Porto were on the attack, for some reason, I went back in time all those years before Di Francesco and even before that Spalletti, and it really was unpleasant, because I think the team did what it had to do, despite exactly Dybala going down and whatever. They were in a pretty good position in a difficult setting. So they just, again, they surprise us. It's not like they don't surprise us. They do surprise us, but they do surprise us both positively and negatively in equal measure, most of the time within the same match, like tonight. Because tonight you set it up in a way that you want to set it up. It was the kind of game that you wanted to play in this place. Cristante gets sent off, and you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble.
Yeah, I just have to laugh because the guy was a non-entity for the majority of the season. And then in the last 2 weeks, he seemingly emerges from the primordial ooze, so to speak. He is just born out of nothing. And naturally, his season tonight was the apex of the Brian Cristante experience, seeing him get sent off. And by the way, his exit, it got a little nervy at the end there, obviously. But it's not a great indication just in terms of the game when you're not missed a whole lot. And that was something that is a pretty good metaphor when it comes to Cristante. But listen, when it comes to the other 10 who managed to stay on the pitch, I thought, just in terms of individual performances, collective performance, this was about as good as you could ask for. Roma, they have the higher XG, created more dangerous opportunities. My boy, Zeki Salik, the one who always and consistently, by way of our patrons, takes so many strays. 50 Cent looks at that and says, oof, wow, how is he still here? Zeki Salik getting the goal warmed my heart to such an astonishingly and worryingly high degree that I mean, I'm half tempted to go get the tattoo right now of him somewhere on my body because people love, especially our patrons, they love to dump on this guy. Love to dump on this guy. And the fact he was one to find the back of the net today warmed my heart. Can we talk about Svilar? I know we always say, just assume in every podcast, unless we mention otherwise, that he was one of, if not the best on the pitch. I mean, we don't
Yeah,
give him nearly enough
it's
credit or time
valid.
on
It's
here.
always
But he
valid.
was
It's an evergreen.
yes, he was superb tonight. I mean, a number of decisive saves. He had the one on Mora in the first half. I mean, there's so much you can say about the guy, and because of how crap the season has been at times, he is often overlooked. But I just can't say enough about him. The fact that you had him in the team, and we've discussed this aspect of it ad nauseum. But the fact that they had this guy sitting there awaiting on the bench, just awaiting his opportunity to come in there and replace Rui Patricio, and he has taken that and run full speed ahead. He has
No
not
looking
looked
back. Yeah,
back.
that's the
They're
thing. That's the
going,
thing. There was not
yes,
since taking over from Rui Patricio. There's not been a single moment, and mind you, hasn't it been a year, more or less? It's been a year since he took over.
yes,
So within
correct,
that year, can you recall an instance where you went, nah, I'm not sure if he can handle it. I'm not sure if he's up.
exactly,
No. And that's the amazing thing. You get him on a free. Congrats to Thiago Pinto, really. And you
yes.
keep him on the bench. And then when he's asked to be the guy, he is the guy. And how long has it been where exactly we take it for granted? We take a vital position on the pitch for granted. We, the two of us, who are known for having made fun repeatedly of goalkeepers across the years. It all started with Robin Olsen. It continued with Pau Lopez. It
Yes.
evolved with Rui Patricio. And it stopped. All of a sudden, it stopped with Miles VR because the guy just took care of business. He continues to do so. In his press conference recently, he acknowledged that Roma started to discuss the possibility of renewing his contract. Please, please, footballing gods, please
It's going to
let it be
happen.
true.
Yes.
Please let it be true. I truly hope that Manchester City go fuck themselves. So after the Ederson thing goes away, if don't look here. There's nothing to see here. VR has to stay because it's this is so fundamental. Like you can go into a game like this and we can point to several things not going well, but we can't point at Milas VR. That and it's really that simple. The whole team can be performing well, but if the goalkeeper is pulling those Robin Olsen stunts or playing with the kind of insecurity that Paul Lopez was playing, forget about it. So no, I'm extremely grateful to SVR, and the fact that I don't have to comment on a goalkeeper's performance should speak volumes, should speak way more about his actual quality than if I was just sitting there and talking about it. Because a good goalkeeper does his job, and ideally, you should not even notice.
Exactly. Just the idea that Roma would unclench their grasp on this guy and to even allow the opportunity to arise to lose him would drive me so mad. Because I've said this time and time again. Any time over the previous decade, we could probably even go two. I just don't have the mental capacity to do that right now. But let's just take the last decade. Anytime Roma have even had the stench of a semi, even relatively competent goalkeeper, they are gone within 24 months. There has been no such thing as long-term stability, in that position. And I have been so resentful at Roma for having done that because Alisson, Szczesny, it is something that has been the bane of this club, finding a name that can stay there for 3 seasons. My gosh, 3 seasons. I mean, how long has Mike Magnon been at Milan now? It seems like, how many years? 4 to 6.
Yeah, something like
It's
that.
just, we do this every single time. We get
Well,
the
Rui
glimpse.
Patricio lasted, I think, the longest in recent years. I mean,
Well,
he
he had one season and then it was
yeah,
over.
one and a half, one
And
and a half.
then
Let's give him one and a half.
Chesney, let's not forget Chesney, as good as he was. I mean, that first
Chesney
season, it
was a
took him
horror show.
4 to 6
Chesney was
months.
a horror show.
Yes, in the
In the
beginning.
beginning was this
In the
horror
beginning, it was
show.
horrible.
And absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
I think it does. I mean, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, of what the Roma have been through. If we focus on various goalkeepers that were here, and Svilar is exactly, it's sort of this. It's a welcome necessity. I mean, he's just
Yes.
fundamentally the kind of player that you need. You know, he's not. I mean, let's face it. Nobody, not. I mean, probably most global football fans don't even know about him. Okay, he's not pulling. He's not
No.
pulling crowds. He's not being box office, whatever you call it. He's not, but he does his job, and that's the kind of thing that Roma need if they want to hope to have a chance in games like tonight. You know, where you are fully aware that you will be put in a situation where at some point, whether it's in the first half, in the second half, if you get a red card or whatever, like tonight, the opponent will put the pressure on you. And you need in that moment a goalkeeper who is firm in his stance and can help you. That's and because how many times we've seen goalkeepers succumb to the pressure. Svilar has always been cool. Let's remember, he emerges during that penalty
Yes.
shootout against Feyenoord. So that's his baptism of fire at Roma, and he continues to perform a year later, which by Roma standards is extraordinary when we're talking about a goalkeeper.
Well, it is too, and as we said right at the beginning of this segment about him, it is not as if he has had a few shaky performances here and there that make you question, oof, is he really up to it? Can he actually maintain this level? I mean, he has taken the position, not looked back, and has left no doubt that this guy is the number one and who is worthy of being in between the posts for Roma. And again, it's been so rare we've been able to say that. As far as the return leg goes, I would say what? When it comes to Roma, 90% of the time, yeah, if the first leg is away from home, you're going to take that every time, no? I mean, a draw, particularly one where, again, they should have come away with a victory tonight. They had the higher XG. I thought they had the more dangerous opportunities. They should have left Portugal today or tonight with more than just a draw, but certainly going into the Olympico, you have to like their chances, no?
Well, listen, Paulo Dybala. I doubt that. You know, we know how much time
We know that
we
answer.
know
Come
how
on.
much time it takes him to heal up after an injury. Salmaker's not gonna be there. It's not. You know, I'm not going to say that this is going to be a cakewalk, because it's not. It's obviously Roma. I always like Roma's chances when they have the return leg in front of their home fans. Um, and I do think that if you play with with this kind of organization, control, whatever you might call it, they do have a good chance of of putting the foot on the pedal and leaving Porto behind. But I think a lot of things can still happen between today and
Well,
Porto. There is Parma in between, and again, there are these situations that we have to keep in mind, because that's going to become a problem. Like, we know it starts now, and then it develops into a full-on injury panic attack in about March, April. That's the April is usually the time when it starts to crumble. We have to be mindful of that. It really has to come from these guys that, you know, Ranieri. Even tonight, Ranieri was so pissed off after the match, and um, the
Yes.
referee and everything. And clearly, the guy was asking the team to just remain composed, don't lose your heads, and it's going to be very important because you see how easy it is. You know, get a yellow card here, yellow card there, and you're out. It's done. It's Roma cannot put themselves in that position because then you suffer. Then you suffer, and when you suffer, questions can
Right.
be made about Roma's resilience. Tonight, I was positively, honestly, I did not expect them to sustain Porto's pressure. I honestly
Not did
did
I.
not think that they were going to last so long in 10 men.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was waiting for them. We saw them bending. Porto piling on the pressure at the end. I was waiting for them to score the winner, but ultimately it did not come. You mentioned this injury thing. It is worrying. I partially, ever since you pointed it out, I've been waiting for this day to happen with Paulo Dybala. But with him, it is always. I mean, I'm always reminded the Europa League final. When did he got that injury in April? No, and they hold him out and they hold him out and they hold him out and then they bring him back for the final. And it was, I mean, he did good in it. Um, it's just with him,
We
it's
really
so.
just talked about this the Budapest final like that, just like randomly threw it out.
I well,
Especially the guy who
well,
scored what
listen,
could have been the fucking winner.
listen. That final in and of itself has so many mini storylines within it, but the disregarded handball is something I will never get over for the remainder of my existence, most likely. Which we'll have plenty of time to go down memory lane in that regard. But the handed ball will always just put put a black mark even more so over that because that should have been awarded and given. But when it comes to Dybala in these in these European ties, especially, you know, you really have to tread carefully with this guy because my goodness, at the first instance of an injury, the guy was on such an incredible run. I mean, think about it, Andy. Since he's been at Roma, this run he has been on since the beginning of the season has been absurd. In fact, I can't even remember going back to his days at Juve if he had anything even remotely resembling this one. I mean, we're going on almost 5 to 6 months of him being completely and totally at the disposal of the team. And we're used to this guy, Andy, when he gets injured. We're talking, it's not just a match or two. I mean, we're talking 3, 5, up to 2.5 months, 10 weeks, the guy is out. And it's just like anything resembling good form or consistency or balance, it just disappears at the snap of a finger. And obviously, you don't want to risk that just in the name of the return leg or having to possibly risk re-aggravating the injury and him missing out on time. That's what I hope they don't do. Don't don't even be tempted to rush this guy back. Give him his time. And by the way, it's not as if goal scoring opportunities disappeared when he came off the pitch. You have Baldanzi comes
That's the
on. He
I
comes
mean,
in for
exactly. We have Baldanzi and Sule who are willing to kill somebody in
Sule.
order to
Yes.
get Dybala's minutes.
Yes.
I mean, that's the reason. It's what we've been waiting for in a way, was for them to find a way into the starting lineup. Now it is. I mean, that's
Yes.
in previous years we never had this, let's say, abundance. And as soon as I say abundance, someone gets injured. But it's true, as in we were like, okay, so who's going to take his place? And then we would have to say, well, Pellegrini maybe, and Pellegrini would get hurt or would play through an injury. And now we got two players who really are there just waiting to pounce on this occasion.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it. Now, on top of that, too, Dolvbeck, he will be there. Um, there are some things, again, they are going to have to adjust in the return leg. And then, again, we have Parma coming up. And do we really need to break it down? Do we really need to go into, what are they going to do with their
Oh no,
formation? How
but
are they going
their
to answer
coach
them?
is on the
It's
verge of getting sacked. The Parma have been
eh, that's
on a
it.
quite an
Yes.
awful run, and you're meeting a team that I mean, it can go both. Either it can be they can be a pain in the ass, or they can just roll over and die. Because Pecchia was supposed to leave already after their most recent defeat, and they kept him around. But it's clear that this is a team that is a dying animal. The question is, do Roma have it in them again to be merciless? Because will they hesitate in this situation? Really, it could be so easy to just sort of again take it for granted, which is something that not only Roma do in these occasions, but other teams do as well. And Roma coming off an engagement in the Europa League midweek fixture, traveling and so on. Are they going to be lazy? Are they going to compensate for Dybala's absence? Are they going to be angry, or are they going to be once again just sort of like a daisical and just sort of, we have to do this, oh no, we have to play in this area, oh, Christ, we just played, um, I wouldn't take this match again for granted, just as I would not take the game against Porto next week for granted, because it's a great thing to be playing at home in the return leg. We know what a boost that is for the team and for Ranieri. But come on, man, this. Um I know these guys. I know these guys. I know the thrills that they give me. I hope that Zeki Selik can continue to be the kind of player that he is right now for Roma, which I believe we're gonna get shot by our patrons and the listeners to the play, because every time I go to one of our video episodes, I see people that usually point fingers at Salik. So here is we are probably the only guys who are right now saying go Salik, but you have to appreciate the effort that, say, exactly, Hummels is not there. Okay, Salik is gonna once again play as a center back, and guess what? He's doing okay. So
Yes.
that's part of the thing. If Baldanzi or if Sule come in and they do well, we have to, or do a fine job. Maybe don't know, they're not immediately star players for it, but just do a good enough job of replacing Dybala. That's what we have to cling on to. That's what's going to make the difference in April, for example. It's going to make the difference now, but it's also going to make the difference in the long run. Roma have to have these options. Roma need to rely on these other options. They need to have the belief in the other options. So we cannot just blindly put our faith in one player like Dybala, who's been, yes, he's been healthy this season. He's been on a roll. He scored every single penalty he took for us, blah, blah, blah. But there comes a time, and we've learned it the hard way, where you have to find a way besides him. And can Roma do that this time around? Can they do it? So many times they've said no, no, no. Can they do it now? Let's see.
Yeah, we have to wait and see. Before we go, though, just a very quick word on this thing with Hummels. It was interesting because I think every single person, all of us, we had him starting this match. He is rested against Venezia. Both he and Paredes. Paredes also does not start. Ranieri in his pre-match press conference or pre-match interview on Sky Sport, I thought it was kind of interesting because generally you do not see that level of maybe a little too much honesty, so to speak, before a match. Now the guy, comes in about Pellegrini. Hey, he's not playing with joy, or he doesn't have a smile on his face. I was kind of surprised to see what he had to say about Hummels, how he was in a lot better shape and condition when I first arrived versus now. We have to get him back at his peak physical performance. Were you surprised by that? Because I have to admit, I was a bit curious, in my opinion,
Well,
to
I
see that
mean,
come out just prior to
I
kickoff.
think he just knows that there's going to be speculation. There's going to be questions.
Yes.
Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? Is he injured? Is he not injured? Is he depressed? Is his wife depressed or whatever? Uh, Listen,
Could have just said he saw Zeki Salik in that role more than he was,
Yeah, but
huh?
I know, but in the sense
Go
that,
the
but
route of Ivan
but
Juric.
that's what we've said. We were seeing so many articles about Hummels and there's the reason behind him not playing. You know, his wife, his family life in Munich, blah blah blah. And Ranieri is saying as it is. I can imagine that it's true. You are 36 years old. You did not do any preseason with any team.
Yes.
It's normal that as soon as Hummels started to play 10 games in a row, it takes a toll. It takes a toll, and it's not easy then
Right.
if you rest like he did against Venezia to then get back into the swing of things. I'm sure we will see him on the weekend, but tonight it was just, I don't think it would have been the kind of night where you can put that kind of pressure on a player of his age. Imagine him in those final minutes. You know, it's just like this. We have to be mindful. That's the thing I've learned with Chris Smalling, with Paulo Dybala in these years. It's if you value a player, you gotta take care of him. You gotta pamper him. You gotta look after him. You gotta take care of him because it's just not gonna magically happen that these guys will last the whole season. Paulo Dybala has an injury history.
Right.
Mats Hummels is 36 years old. Draw a conclusion, for Christ's sakes. No, there is no big conspiracy theory. You know, like I don't understand when people, you know, Filippo Biafora is always the first one to publish the starting lineup. It's an amazing job. But the thing that always bothers me is that after every single tweet that he posts, there's about 90 comments within the first minute. They're like, why is he starting? Why is he not starting? And it's no matter what the lineup is, it's always happening. And I'm like,
It's like watching the match with your uncles or your grandfather.
why? Oh, you
It's
should have done that. No, man. Why? What's the point? You're gonna complain the next time out. As soon as he changes the line, it's gonna be. I mean, that pisses me off incredibly because there is no conspiracy. There is no here. There's nothing. It's as clear as day. Okay, player is old. You knew that when you signed him. You knew that he didn't do any preseason training. You've seen what happens with Chris Smalling when he was starting. Remember, he comes back from injury. Roma put him back into the lineup. He has some amazing performances, 3, 4 in a row, whatever. Boom, injured again. And if Hummels is really that guy for Ranieri, then Ranieri knows fully well that he has to look after his big guy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was more so surprised at the time he decided to sort of reveal that, but not a big deal. The guy's 36 years old. But as you said, seeing all the hubbub, so to speak, when it was revealed he was going to be on the bench was interesting. We are going to leave it there. Back at the weekend after the match against Parma. Until then, everyone, ciao.